So hey YouTube, it's Petey. I'm back. I had done a video earlier talking about how we had catastrophic failure at today's third micro remote. This was the device that failed. I had wired it where there was 4 batteries, so 3 of the batteries were powering the MP3 decoder and the EQ, and the 4 batteries of the total sum of them was powering the preamp, because the preamp wants 16 volts, the MP3 and the EQ want 12. So I removed all of that wiring and double fused it. I ran one half of the switches of DP/DT, which means it's like 2 switches. So I ran one half of that to the 16 volt preamp with 16 volts. On the other side, I ran to a step down transformer, which reduces the voltage from 16 to 12. So we're getting good, clean, voltage regulated step down current for the EQ and the MP3 unit, and everything is fine. Works fantastic, sounds good, and it's stable. You know, if you take 2 outputs, you have normally you have 1 output, and so if you just split that into 2 and you plug them in, what you'll find is you're going to have like half the volume. You don't get nothing for free, and that makes sense because you're taking X amount of signal and dividing it by 2, so you're going to have less. It messes with the impedance. It's just not really the best way to do it. Now, what I did, is this any better? I don't know. You tell me. I put in a preamp, which is like a booster, and it's got a volume control as well. And that way that booster is going to accommodate for splitting the signal. So, do I have this all ironed out? I don't know. The stuff that I built, I rebuilt. You know, we had an amplifier, the board failed for no apparent reason. And like typically, yeah, if I put the batteries in backwards or playing it for 3 hours and it was 95 degrees and it went up in a puff of smoke, you know, this was like, it worked. I was at home. I wrapped it up, and then we took it out and turned it on, and it was dead. And through our troubleshooting, we realized that, hey, this amp board is fried, you know. We had another a device that I built where the jack, the output jack had failed. And then today we had this, it was some smoke, and it smelled funky, and this thing just stopped working. So rebuilt this tonight. I did it the way it should have been done in the first place. So shame on me, you know. Live and learn, you know. And it isn't a big deal. This part here, it's $3.25 on AliExpress. They're 11 bucks on eBay. So I got a couple of those coming. I like to have backups, and I had one. I replaced this because the original was inoperative. After we went out today, it was on. It was acting like it was working, and something about the way this was miswired with this short. Because if you left the batteries in it, they would end up draining. They would drain, which is a sign of a short. So I have no idea what I did wrong. Live and learn. Petey's bad. I'm horrible. You know, we had the bad jack, we had an amp board die. Probably all my fault. I installed the bad jack, so yeah, shame on me. And that's just the way it is. You know, that's my life. Sometimes I make decisions that I regret because, like, I knew that stupid jack was bad. I was just like, oh, yeah, here I'm going to use these 2 used jacks. I'm going to use them up. You know, they cost like 50 cents. So the idea that I would sabotage a remote, you know, we pack all this stuff up and drive over there, and then it's like, that's kind of, I should have splurged and got a fresh jack, right? So, moving forward, everything has been rebuilt multiple times now, so I think we're good at this point on the micro remotes. The set list is good. It starts off, there's a couple of things in there I'm not really so hot on. One thing kind of sounds out of tune. But you got to warm up. They can't all be Stairway to Heaven songs, caliber, great music. But we do have some, like as the set list goes on, I really like some of the stuff towards the end. The last song is something off of Semantical Nightmare, which is called SPF 45. Now, it's a scene, the video is, like half the album is this video of these two cats. It's filmed in Europe in like 1920 or something. This documentary about these cats, and they have a litter. So it shows the baby that growing into their when they're like they open their eyes and they're running around fighting each other. It's a really cute piece of film that I put music to, and that segment SPF 45 some sunscreen that we had. My wife used to make sure that the kids were taken care of with sunscreen when they went out. I mean, it sounds silly, but my dad died from what initially started out as skin cancer. So it's like I saw that my wife cared about our children too. Like it was always a big deal about putting that sunscreen on them. We had this bottle of SPF 45 that lasted a couple of years. And I just used it as a song title because what it meant to me was watching these cats that they cared. They took care of their babies in this film. So there's a kind of a powerful and really beautiful thing. And the piece of music, we've been closing with it. And man, I just love playing it. It's just a good piece, I gotta say, I've written a lot of music, and I'm not saying, I'm so great. A lot of bad, real easy songs with repeating myself with not much going on, no lyrics, just an A part and a B part, and the basic minimum that you could get by, and repeating myself ad nauseum. But this piece, I think, works well. It's more of a clean guitar thing that I'm playing, and it's really tricky to make it sound good on the B part. It really requires a lot of technique with both hands. What I'm doing is like, it's hard to make it sound good, but I've been digging that. Seriously digging. I wish I could just come over to your house, set the stuff up in your living room or garage, hopefully air conditioned, and play it for you. You could experience the whole set. I wish I could. Now, when we're talking micro remote, we started out with a little sound bar with like 1.5 inch or 2-inch drivers. That's what we were doing. And it's grown into this thing with larger and larger speakers. And as I've talked about this, if you've watched any of this content, with me talking about this portable music rig, the challenge is always the bass guitar. For a bass, you need a killer speaker, or like 410s, And what we're trying to do is a micro rig. It's supposed to be small. It's supposed to sound good, but small. So I really don't want to go with an 8-inch driver or a 10-inch driver, or like let's just get an 18 or a 15 or a 12. No, it's not supposed to be that loud. It's supposed to be small, portable, not a big deal, and then in turn it won't be super loud, so the cops won't come. So that's the whole theory behind what we're doing. And I got to tell you this story. Believe me, this is going somewhere. Back in 2017, there was a bass guitar clinic with a guy named Victor Wooten. Now, Victor came from a musical family, and his brother, I think, played six-string. He played bass. And Victor's whole thing was, it wasn't so much... He played for like 20 minutes, and then he talked for like an hour and 10 minutes. And it was almost like a being in church, like he was bringing this message, and it was about like your heart and like being cool, of like being a good person. It was like if you have your heart right and you're operating in a higher vibration out of love, like everything else is going to come together. So it was like kind of evolved, and I exactly what I needed to hear. I've been in some bad situations working with musicians where that jealousy and spirit of competition and disunity, that whole thing, is just, and I've fallen into that. Like when that seed is planted, it's really hard to. You find yourself in a position working with someone who's like they're not willing to reveal the truth to you, or they're like secretive and like I'm not going to tell you that, and like this like sneaky. You need to get the fuck out of that. That's not going to work for anybody. And there are people out there who are like that. And having all this love in your heart, being this positive person. If you're unequally yoked with someone who's just deceiving others and jealous and operating on this lower vibrational frequency, there's only so much one can do. At one point, you kind of have to cut bait. So it was a little bit idealistic what he was saying, but also, it was right on. It was like, get yourself in the right place and be an awesome person who's positive, who isn't like jealous and scheming and operating out of love, and then the rest of it will fall into place. So the Victor Wooten Bass Clinic, you can check him out. He does interviews, and it's always the same thing. He talks about this positivity and operating out of love, or whatever it is. And forgive me, this was 2017. I really kind of, it's been a while since I went through that. Now, while we were there, this is at Sam Ash. The place is cram-packed, okay? And there's a guy who came in who had like a goatee sticking out with a weird pork pie cap, and he was like, these like John Lennon glasses, and he had weird clothes on, like smelled like patchouli and like some kind of acoustic bass. And so Victor Wooten plays a 20-minute bass solo. That's how he starts it out. And all of a sudden, this guy, he's going like, he's playing his bass along with while Victor Wooten is jamming, and everyone's like, "What?" Like, and then he's just like starting to play like he's like, "I'm in a jam with Victor Wooten," and there's like 400 other bass players there, and a lot of them have their bass, so it's like the most unbelievably uncool, like balls of steel move that this guy is doing. Anyway, one of the employees, probably I think like he was the owner, maybe, was there, and he got pissed. he leans over the counter and he goes, "You stop that!" So much for all the love in your heart. So yeah, Victor is sponsored by Hartke, and Hartke makes these hybrid speakers. They're aluminum cone and then paper on the outside, and it's supposed to be like, if you have that aluminum, the whole speaker is made out of aluminum, it'll be more of a brittle tone. The bass players don't like it, so they combine, they do half aluminum and the outer half is paper. Now they had some raffles and they were calling people's names out, and My wife won the grand prize. So she got, it seemed to be about 6 sets of strings, DR brand strings, including this neon green set that she had on her bass for years. It looks so cool. I would love to get some of those again. A Christmas gift
Is it
for
still
her.
on the one you're talking?
No, I took them off. They kind of wore out. But she got a Hartke practice amp with a 6.5-inch driver in it. That half aluminum, half paper, and that thing, I think it's a 15-watt amp. It is so awesome and so loud. I cannot believe the technology of this speaker. Anyway, I found where I can buy one. So I ordered one tonight, and that's going in the homemade amp. Got these bass amp that she's using on the micro remote. Has a 6.5-inch speaker in it. And I found the same speaker, the Hartke speaker. So hopefully it's not a sham or some kind of imitation, because it was a good price. But I've got that one coming, and I'm going to install that in there, and that should be that. It should definitely make a huge difference, because even if this doesn't work out, I'm going to figure something out how to incorporate that. You know, I would go so far as to just swap it, put the one that I bought that I wasn't so hot on in that cabinet, and because it's like, what are you using? What are you going to use? You know, seriously, what are you using? I assumed that speaker was an 8 because it's so loud. This little amp, it's a little 15-watt practice amp, and the speaker's rated at 15 watts. It's a 100-watt amp board is what it's rated at. So I'm going to have to be careful with it. Obviously, I don't want to blow this thing. But like I said, the challenge is always that low end. And in my life, I only ran into one speaker that was small, that had really unbelievable performance as far as the low end goes. And hopefully that's what I ordered. It seems like it is. It looks, in the auction, the pictures look good. But it's on Alibaba, and they do have fakes, so it just seems weird that how would they know about that and clone it and have it up there like, here it is. It's a different company's name on the speaker. So I don't know. We'll have to see. It wasn't a real lot of money, but that's where we're at with the micro rig. And this one was kind of long. So I'm looking for